Hey everyone, it's Reena Jadhav with the Health Bootcamps and Live Longer podcast. And today we have Liliana Partida telling us how to beat those god-awful cravings that absolutely derail every one of us from our intentions of getting our health back and losing all that awful weight. Liliana, how do we get those cravings under control?
Well, Reena, that is $1 million question because there's so many aspects. And so let's just start out with the first one, and that's maintaining blood sugar levels. Now, I always tell everyone there's no inner enemy in regards of sabotage. There's what we would, and I tell patients, even willpower really isn't something we want to rely on. We want to rely on chemistry power. And so oftentimes when people have hypoglycemia, their blood sugar is going up and down. And then when it dips down, they're looking for carbohydrates or cravings that are going to accommodate that instant energy. So how we've set up the menu plan is that we have an adequate amount of protein, adequate amount of fat that should stabilize your blood sugar, and then very small carbohydrates so we don't get these big dips, ups and downs. And so that's the first thing we're going to do is really work on stabilizing glucose levels. And I will guarantee you within a week, you will not have any cravings if you stick with the plan that we have organized for you as far as moderate protein, low carbohydrates, and higher in the fat department. Now, the other thing is always just know that cravings are based on emotions as well. And so I tell every patient that when you really pay attention, am I really hungry? Or am I just bored or upset or stressed out? And so everybody knows what hunger feels like. It's that kind of gnawing, my stomach's gonna eat me if I don't eat food right now. And also too is I just feel like having something. I don't really want food, but I just want a little treat. And so I always say, just check in with yourself and ask yourself, how have I not met my personal needs that I'm looking for to this cookie or this chips or things that really are not on my list. And those are cravings because in all honesty, when your blood sugar is stable, you should be full for a minimum of 3 hours. And then usually at the 4th hour, the 3 hours plus, you're going to get a signal that says, hey, it's time to eat again. And so when we get that signal, we want to kind of avoid the I need to go pick up some more calories and unlock that fat bank and use those calories so that we can lose some of this excess. And so that will only happen if you take your meals and spread them out between 4 and 5 hours between each meal. So we have an opportunity to access that fat for fuel. And we make these type of a protein from our fats that can actually facilitate good brain function and also energy. So that was our goal, is not to try to eat too soon in regards to the timing. Now, for a lot of patients out there, clients that are on this protocol, if you have insulin resistance or blood sugar issues, you're going to probably get hungry in 2.5 hours because your body's not shuttling your foods into the cell wall to give you energy. But let me just assure you that about after 3 to 4 to 5 days into this, you're going to start getting a different experience. In the first couple of days, you may feel a little kind of like a lightheaded, or your cravings are like, I miss those foods. But I guarantee you, if you just kind of go through those couple of days, you're going to stabilize and your blood sugar is going to have good chemistry. And when we have good chemistry, we're not craving, foods. So back to the emotional cravings. So for example, we have a dopamine center where it's what I call our pleasure center. And so our brain is always gauging how happy we are, or that are what we call our happy hormones. And so if in fact we're under stress, we have anxiety or depression, or we're overwhelmed, we're going to produce a chemistry, and often it'll be cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone that stimulates the body in the mindset of flight or fright. Well, what's going to happen? Our body's going to literally dump glucose that it has stored in our muscle fiber and put it in the bloodstream so that we can have instant energy. But most often we're just at our computer trying to get home, and get to our next appointment. So we really aren't going to use that flight and fright energy. So what happens is that you've got cortisol in the system, which is a storage hormone. That means that when you eat your next meal, you're going to take those calories and you're going to put it directly onto your belly, because you have 4 times the receptor sites of cortisol on your stomach than in any other part of your body. And unfortunately, that's going to be creating more bad estrogens because your belly fat produces bad estrogens. So we don't want that as well. And so our goal is to create good, stable blood sugar. At the same time, our goal is to eliminate food sensitivities, because remember, a food sensitivity is an addiction, and our body thinks it's required it to make it feel good. Like, for example, let's talk about dairy. Dairy has casein, morphine in it, makes my brain very happy. Gluten, morphine, makes my brain very happy. So our body is used to these kind of foods. And so, of course, there can be an addictive nature to that as well. So we want to say one thing is I want to make sure that I'm eating stable foods to create good blood sugar stability so that I don't have chemical ups and downs. And my emotions, I can say to myself, I'm not really hungry. I'm just bored or stressed. So instead of doing that, let me get some exercise. Let me go take a hot bath. Let me connect with nature. Let me call my girlfriend up. Let me have a good laugh. Because we're always reaching for foods that are going to be based on our emotions. And again, when you have a lot of stress, you're going to go for salty, crunchy foods because you're going to be overstimulating the adrenal glands, and it's going to look for salt. If we feel like, we need love, we're going to go for cheese and ice cream, right? Because it's got all of that casein, morphine, mama, somebody give me some love. And if we feel like we've been duped, you're going to want chocolate, okay? It's all of that nice theanine to the brain, and you got the magnesium in there. And so again, the phenylalanine, it makes you really happy. So I always say, pay attention to what you're reaching for in regards to how you feel, and say, okay, instead of using that food that will never really meet my emotional needs, let me go do something that will actually put some money in my bank account as far as getting me to my next place.
Fascinating. That's so, what does it say? That I reach for chocolate all day long when I'm not in my willpower, in my control. So that's very, very fascinating. And I love the fact that you brought that up, because I think to a large extent we forget that our cravings really do break into either chemical, and you're going to fix that through the meal plan that you've designed so that the cravings will go away. Just everyone keep in mind it'll take at least 3 days to 4 days for your body to settle in, so you'll still have to deal with the cravings for the first few days. There's another aspect of cravings, which, as you, Liliana, have now brought up, are emotional. And it could be anything from, as you said, boredom to anger to sadness to stress. And I've experienced every one of those emotions in my journey. And one of the things that I realized was that for me, because I had lost so much weight and I had to put my weight back on, my brain has now equated volume of food as being like mandatory, like I need to eat this much food. Now, of course, I put all my weight back on and I'm a healthy weight now. And if I keep eating the way I've been eating, I'm going to completely be in Liliana's weight loss boot camp.
Reena, one of the things I just want to clarify is that chocolate in and of itself is actually great. It could be very medicinal because it does have the magnesium and the theanine and the phenylalanine. But of course, we're looking at raw cacao. And in the shakes, I have that because we're going to want to appease the emotional mindset as well. So we want to build in all the flavors Ayurvedically, so that our brain chemistry is going, hey, I got everything I need.
Yes.
So what else is left, right?
It's absolutely. So one of the things that worked for me when I realized, like, oh my God, I'm having these cravings and I'm not able to control them, but it's because the underlying factors are just so subconscious and so emotionally, charged. I started keeping a diary.
Yes.
And every time I would go into that pantry, and it became a little bit of a joke with my family because I'd get into the pantry and never leave. It became a bit of a joke because I started taking my diary in, and I would sit there and write, okay, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? Why am I eating? Why am I eating? Why am I reaching for that chocolate when I'm so full? Why am I shoving all these cashews and macadamias, which are so high fat, when I'm really not hungry? Sort of what's going on? And that diary became so helpful to me as a way for me to kind of bring out everything that I was feeling. And then that would distract me and I would feel better. And then I would leave the pantry without having shoved food in my face. So we are giving you this Heal journal for 30 days. So make sure you print it, download it. It's completely free to you. If you want to buy the book, there is a link to purchase it for cost on Amazon, but we're giving it to you for free for 30 days. print it and use it. So initially, if you have these cravings, just start writing. The moment you have the craving, open the journal and start writing. What am I thinking? Why am I craving it? And you know what? You might actually end up dealing with some issues that might have been deeply hidden, you know, down below, and it might help bring some of those things up as well. Because I feel, Liliana, and tell us if you've experienced this too, that whenever I've gone through any kind of a program, all these emotions suddenly bubble up too.
Oh, absolutely. You know, you brought up the food journaling. Now, we know statistically that people who food journal actually are 50% more successful at reaching their goals. So it's actually very important because it makes you become very mindful. I mean, just to the extent that, let's just say, for example, they go off track, and everybody will, nobody's going to be perfect. This is not about perfection. This is about creating a lifestyle for a lifetime. And so again, what are they going to feel when they go off track? Are they going to be bloaty and gassy? When they can mark that down, they can start to say, oh my gosh, you know, I'm eating this great health food, but every time I eat it, I'm getting diarrhea, or I'm getting bloated, or I'm getting gassy. Then after a while, you just have to say, okay, listen, your body's speaking to you. It's saying, this is not your friend. So it's very important that they do have some accountability to themselves in regards to, this is what I'm eating, and this is my how I'm feeling, and also jotting down some emotional things in regards to how they're being successful. They drank water today and they met their goals and they had a good bowel function and they exercised. So it's not all about what we did wrong. It's also you want to impact with, you know, giving yourself a pat on the back. You know, every time I exercise, I walk out of the gym and I say, good girl, right? I say, who's going to be my best coach but me, right? So again, you want to kind of start changing that mindset, is that nobody is responsible except for myself for my health and my happiness. And it begins with mindfulness.
Of course, we hope to see you on Liliana's Weight Loss Boot Camp. Take care. Bye-bye.